Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EG.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have, as usual, a great show for you today. How are my peeps doing? I trust all my peeps are doing just fine. Welcome aboard to the program. First in the house, Michael Rudnin from Brooklyn, New York. We also have in the house Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, New York. Lee the Bearcat from Austin, Texas. We've got Joe Anna from Los Angeles, California. We have Paul Fleming. I think I call Paul Fleming out. We've got Jacqueline Campisi, our La Profesora, our teacher, our resident teacher from Katy, Texas. Thank you for all that you do. And of course, Bruce Pollard says, hi, all. How can we find peace now? We make it. We find peace? No, we make it. We enforce it. You know, that's what we got to do. That's what we got to do. Of course, welcome aboard as well, Lee Grant. Lee Grant from Montgomery County, Bruce Pollard from Kingwood, Atascocita. In the chat from Substack, we've got Dale Roy Bauer, Rosie Paz de Musio, Lisa Rumbles, Do You Lie? Miguel, Michael, whichever one you want to be called, Pat Flowers, Adam Getty, and counting. You know, I can't get the first few because it's a delay before we actually get on, and we only get the current people that comes on after I connect. But we're going to have a good show for you today, folks. How's everybody doing? I trust everybody is doing just fine. Paul Fleming, I hope you can hear me now. If you can't, please let me know. Michael Rudden says the audio problem is local to you. Check your audio settings and connections. Thank you, Michael Rudden, for the advice. CJ Jr., welcome aboard. Anyway, have you guys been following the news? It seems like Donald Trump is having second thoughts because we know what Ted Cruz went through as Tucker Carlson embarrassed him. Hey, look, I couldn't believe what Carlson did to Ted Cruz. Do you know what the population is of the country you want us to invade? I don't quite know. How the hell do you want to invade a country and you don't know the population? You ought to know what kind of impact the amount of people it was amazing. The second thing, do you know the ethnicities and what Tucker Carlson? And look, I can't believe that I'm agreeing with Tucker Carlson here, of course, for all the wrong reasons. But when Tucker Carlson says, what are the different ethnicities? The idea that Tucker Carlson was trying to get across is, do you know what kind of alliances you would have between the Shia, the Sunni, the Persians? All of these are different people. And if you don't understand the structure of the country, you don't understand much. It is like when Great Britain went into Africa and they started to pull it apart and put it back together because of colonialism. They put a whole lot of pieces together that really didn't fit, right? Different cultures, etc. And that wasn't America. America was designed because of its history to be multicultural at the start, to put it bluntly. But otherwise, no, we're not crashed. I hope not. I can see us still going through all over AVQ. I can still see all signals moving. YouTube, everything seems to be going fine. Let me go to the other YouTube channel. Yeah, it looked like we're fine, Rudnin. It seems like we're fine. I don't know. It seems like we're fine, is what I'm seeing. Let me make sure that all still looks good. I am not sure what's going on. Let's see. It seems like it's still going fine on. Yeah, it's still going, guy. It's still going. I still see the live stream going. Okay. Anyway, folks, so how are we going to start the show today? The title of the show today is, and let me go ahead and throw that onto the screen, who are the arch terrorists? Charlie Kirk disrespects college women. Musk's rockets explode again. You know what? I think I want to start with Musk's rockets explode again. What you say? Let's go ahead and do that. I did a little quick piece on that, and I'm going to go ahead and start out by playing that piece. But before I play that piece, I got to make sure that I mapped it all together. I just got through doing these 4 videos, and I don't think I had them all mapped out. So what I need to do is get all the maps set up, and I'm mapping it as we speak. You know, you have to map one channel to the other channel to the other channel, because there are several channels that we talk through, and some channels shouldn't be set. It is what we have to do to get this out. Let's see, Musks. I got the Musks done. Now I need to do the Watch Charlie Kirk, and we are going to be ready to fly. We are done. Let me put the mapper out here, and let's go ahead and play that first video for you, my hermanos y mis hermanas. There we go right now. Well, there we go again. El Señor Elon Musk continues his failure upwards, you know? He continues to fail. He continues to get funded for the things he's failing at. Look, this is the fourth time in a few months this year that one of these gigantic rockets from Elon Musk has exploded. Look, I'm an engineer. I understand engineering. I understand these are dangerous things, but you don't blow up these amount of rockets this fast if you don't if you are following certain type of design rules, engineering rules, etc. Yes, accidents can happen. This happened on the pad. Look, when it comes to all the simulations that we have now with computers, etc., you don't have to have these types of explosions over and over again. Look, accidents happen, I understand, but 5 major explosions in 5 months or so, that tells us that there are some quality control issues. It tells us that the efficiencies one always talks about with the private sector is really a fallacy, which we've always spoken about on Politics Done Right. It's mostly a capital thing. I want you to just kind of listen to what recently occurred here in Brownsville, Texas, and then we'll take it on the other side.
We're following this morning. It appears that Elon Musk's private space company SpaceX suffered another setback in South Texas yesterday. A rocket, which was dubbed Starship 36, exploded during a routine test around 11 p.m. local time last night. You see it there. In a statement, SpaceX said the rocket experienced a major anomaly while on the test stand outside Brownsville, Texas. The company did not elaborate further on the technical issues that caused the massive explosion. Thankfully, no one was hurt.
Oh, there you go. Another Musk upward failure. I mean, he fails and he fails. He fails at Doge. He fails at, remember, all these are companies that he bought working. None of these things are the brainchilds or the brainchildren of Elon Musk. Unfortunately, he has successfully snowed the media. Unfortunately, he has successfully snowed many in government to continue to be allowed to waste the taxpayer dollars, because he is one of the largest recipients, his companies and himself, largest recipients of corporate welfare from our government, our tax dollars being used on this guy to blow things up because of the ineptitude of the procedures that they follow, etc., etc., etc. Would be nice if we could all fail upward. Would you think about this, folks? If any government organization had 4 explosions in 4 months or so, think about it. 4 explosions of millions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars. And by the way, if any government did that, we would talk about government being inefficient, government being, not worthy, etc. But here we allow a private company to take public dollars to develop something for the public, and in the process waste a lot of money because they blow stuff up instead of doing the necessary types of investment in research so that they don't have to blow things up. Remember a few weeks ago, I told you about finite element analysis. There's no reason for a lot of these rockets and all of that to blow up in testing anymore. Yeah, there can be an accident or two every so often because there are things that you forget in your simulation, or there are things you didn't think about. but the simulation following quite a bit of rules usually take care of all of that. When was the last time you heard of a Boeing, a test Boeing airplane crashing? Because again, different methodologies, right? Now, Elon Musk, again, with his dope self, always high. I can imagine telling those engineers, you need to get this stuff out. And they're, look, we need to do some more research. We need to do this. We need to do that. Get that thing out. I am stoned. I'm kidding, guys. I don't know that. What I just said there was just simulation. I didn't know that. But I just thought to make, that explosion that you saw, that is our tax dollar blown up. And for you, Mr. CSAC, let me tell you, when at the time that many of us, finite differences and finite analysis were just coming to the fold when I worked for NASA. But that is the law that is how engineering is done today. Okay. So there is no reason you can simulate things down to the micrometer, which stresses on the micrometer. Let me tell you that we shouldn't have these types of accidents happening with the frequency that it has happened under Elon Musk. So just to get you a little aware of that. Anyway, folks, Netanyahu believes that Netanyahu says Iran is what's the word that he used? It's a arch terrorist country. And why is that? Because he claims that their missiles are not targeting military structures. They're not military assets. That's not what they're targeting. Iran says that they are trying to hit bases, but Iran is a few thousand miles away from, I don't know how many thousands are from Israel. So, some rockets may go astray or maybe not. I don't know. I am not the one directing these traffics. I don't believe any of them. I just know they are in a war that Israel started. But Israel, we have to remember, had no problems leveling Gaza with buildings with innocent civilians in it. They had no problems leveling hospitals with civilians and patients in those hospitals. They had no problem leveling schools at all. No problem. And when the world bodies have already pointed out that Netanyahu is in fact a war criminal, not Egberto saying, although it is quite obvious that he is, the rest of the world has said Netanyahu is a war criminal. Netanyahu has the gall to call somebody else because a missiles hit a hospital that killed no one. They are the arch terrorists. And if they get the nuclear bomb, they'll use it. Well, the only country that Netanyahu can say used the nuclear bomb was us. So he has to go to the people who are funding him to get that result. But here's a piece that I did earlier today. But I am very upset. And to my Jewish brothers and sisters, you all know where I really stand. Netanyahu continues to amaze. Let's get a quick timeline here. October 7th, a year and change ago, terrorists attacked Israel, killing 1,200 innocent people. Innocent people, absolutely. But a lot of that terrorist attack could have been mitigated because, again, several women who were guards made it clear to the Israeli officials that they saw signs of some sort of an activity getting ready to happen. There's no reinforcements to protect the Israelis against this attack. No preparations against this attack. Almost the same that we had with Bush getting information that we had people practicing with airplanes to drive into buildings. Bush did nothing. So again, there were always signs for these terrorist attacks. Netanyahu did nothing about it. One kind of wondered if Netanyahu didn't want something to happen so that he could execute his genocide on Gaza. Well, after that occurred, he went ahead and yes, he tried like hell to get Hamas, the perpetrators of that terrorist act. But in the process of doing so, what he did is flattened Gaza, flattened most of Gaza. I mean, just turned it into a wasteland, indiscriminately killing innocent civilians. That's what he did. Innocent civilians, blew up hospitals, blew up schools, all these places where civilians are. And now, because he got a feeling that Iran was about to get a nuclear bomb. Their enrichment of uranium reached to the point that they could make a nuclear bomb. He is going to preemptively go into Iran. Without provocation, he goes into another country and bomb the smithereens out of the country. But deeper than that, he goes out and assassinates scientists, assassinate leaders, and many more. Now, you have to ask a question. If you are a sovereign country, what would you do? What would you do? Well, Iran did exactly what one would expect Iran to do. And this is not a statement in favor of Iran, in favor of Israel, against Iran, against Israel. This is just statements of fact here. So Iran launched a whole bunch of missiles into the sky, and they purport that they're trying to take out military targets. And they took out a few apartment buildings. They took out, and one hit a hospital yesterday. And to Netanyahu, that is the end of the world. How dare Iran send a missile that happened to kill, well, it didn't kill anybody in the hospital, that happened to hit a hospital. How could you possibly do that? You are barbarians. You are arch terrorists, he calls you. Isn't that a projection? How many people did Netanyahu's bombs kill in Gaza? How many hospitals did Netanyahu bomb? How many schools with kids did Netanyahu bomb? And you're calling that missile that came into that hospital that made Iran arch terrorists? So what did your actions in Iraq, in Gaza mean? Does that make you an arch terrorist? Well, the world already has denoted that you are, Mr. Netanyahu, in fact, a war criminal. There are certain countries you can't go to. Why? Because you are a war criminal. Why would you want to assign that to anybody else? And why would you continue doing what you're doing to further promote the fact that, in effect, you are a war criminal, Mr. Netanyahu? I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
On the ground, new devastating strikes from both sides, including this major hospital in southern Israel that took a direct hit from an Iranian ballistic missile, injuring 40 people. Prime Minister Netanyahu, who visited the site earlier today, called it the work of tyrants and vowed revenge.
They can give this nonsense that they're targeting military sites. What military sites? I know all the military sites in Israel. There isn't a military site here for miles and miles around. They're targeting civilians because they're a criminal regime. They're the arch terrorists of the world. They want to have nuclear terrorism, which will put the entire world under nuclear blackmail, and they would use these weapons.
Israel went after multiple nuclear sites in Iran over the past 24 hours. One, a partially built reactor. The other, key to weapons development. And for the first time, Israel's defense minister said that Israel's goal isn't just destroying Iranian nukes, but changing the leadership as well. Speaking this morning, he called Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, a modern Hitler who cannot continue to exist.
This is upsetting to me many times on a personal level, because countries with the advantage, with the military advantage, etc., have a tendency to look at wrong and right, not based on morality, but wrong or right based on who has power. And I can never forget that Bush #1 invaded Panama to pick up Manuel Antonio Noriega, who was once a good friend of his, supporter of the CIA, etc. But because Manuel Antonio Noriega didn't want to invade a Central American country, he was now persona non grata to El Señor Bush. And they went in there and indiscriminately bombed, maimed, and killed thousands of Panamanians. Not only in military regions, but just like Netanyahu did in apartment buildings. We have to be careful how we call out the ills and the bad things others have done. We have to be careful how we use the word terrorist, because I tell you what, if you take off the blindfold, or if you put on a blindfold and then just open the door to see what the destruction is in a place and then ask who effected this, sometimes the actual results of who become the aggressor is not what you quite expect.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing.
It's not quite what you expect. Again, we have a lot to atone for. We have to look in the mirror. And when we are given advice or trying to convince the world to do things in what we would consider a moral way, we have to atone and take and let folks understand that we know the faults that we've had. We know, and we're trying to atone for them as we try to make a better world. But just being wrong and strong ain't gonna cut it. And that is what we want to do too often. Anyway, let's see what we got. By the way, B-2 heavy bomber, the only plane in the world that can lift and deploy and drop a 15-ton GBU-5, the massive ordnance. And guess what? That ordnance is good for 200 feet of rock. There are reports that these centrifuges may be half a mile deep. I don't think that is going to get to it. And I think that's the only reason why it hasn't been done yet. Otherwise, I think Donald Trump would have pulled that trigger. I don't know that those bombs take it out. For them to take it out, they'll probably have to blow a hole, hope that rock dissipates, blow another hole, hope that rock dissipates, until you get down to about 1,500 feet. Because I don't think they have it at 200 or 300 feet. I think it's much deeper than that. So I don't know if this wonder weapon that they're talking about is going to work. And I don't think they want to test it and let the world see that it doesn't work. Let me tell you guys, Iran is not a dumb country. Iran is made up. I worked with Iranian engineers. Look, these guys are just as good as any engineer, any part of the world, man. And you don't think they know that everybody's gunning, that the West in general is gunning after them? The West knows all the major places where the centrifuges are and where they're in operation. If you for once believe that those are the only places where these guys keep their material, the places that everybody knows about, I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn. Look, if Iran is attacked, I can almost guarantee you that they'll have a bomb. My dear brother Patrick Magner, talk to me.
Hey, I'm glad they brought up Bibi today because he's a terrible person. He's a freaking monster. I was going to try and do this morning, but it's probably better on the afternoon because I know that there's some people that are sensitive about Israel at KPFT, and which is disappointing because its slogan is Radio for Peace. But I did want to talk to you about him and talk through you to everybody else because I don't think that people understand the type of person he is.
Evil. You got it right, brother.
Israel currently occupies Lebanon, the West Bank, and Syria. That means that they forcefully moved their borders over a sovereign country's border to occupy them, take resources, and manipulate their people. Since they occupied those countries, all four of those countries have destabilized. So Netanyahu is telling people that he's going in there to fix things. He is not. Now, the next category we have is let's discuss who he's been at war with this year. We're 6 months into this year, and so far he's declared war on Gaza, Lebanon, the West Bank, Syria, Iraq, Iran, further destabilized Somalia. He's trying to push into Africa. His official motto is expansion. He believes that the entire Middle East belongs to his chosen people. And the first thing I would say is I don't think a chosen people would act like that.
Imagine that, right?
Yeah, none of this is reflected in our media because we have a soft spot for them because of what's written in a book that's over 2,000 years old and is riddled with inaccuracies. And we are gambling World War III over this.
Well, you heard Ted Cruz pretty much says that the reason he believes that it is a duty of Americans to support Israel and it's biblical. That's paraphrasing what he said to Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, and it's wholly inaccurate and very, very dangerous. Let's do it for human kindness. Let's do it because it'll improve the world, not because of what was written. They did their best they could 2,000 years ago, but they didn't have a very good idea of what the world around them. They didn't even understand pi at the time. They didn't even wear underwear, and they hadn't even invented glue yet. What do we expect from a society like that? Not a lot of accuracy.
Yeah, I mean, and the book was written by human beings, right? So I mean, why are we to believe? And look, I respect everybody's religion, whatever you want to believe, free world, whatever. But as long as you don't ask me, I was a Christian all my life. And not only a Christian, but I lived the word. And not only did I live the word, but a lot of the good values of Christianity still lives within me. I'm no longer a Christian. I'm a humanist. But interestingly, a lot of the values I have migrate to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You know, all those commandments. It's amazing how close I live by them just from being a good person. And I imagine you do too.
I respect other people's religion until it gets to a point where some people are gleeful and looking forward to an apocalypse because they want to meet Jesus again. Let's not force that on everybody.
Exactly. What else you got to tell me?
We have senators and congressmen that believe that way. Staying on that subject, we discussed the other day that deterrence work for sane people, but unfortunately, the three people that are really pushing for war right now, Putin, Trump, and Bibi, they aren't logical. I don't think they're sane, and they are in so deep right now that I could absolutely see one of them suicide by apocalypse.
Now I don't. Let me just say this, right? It's not easy to launch a nuclear weapon where you want to launch that nuclear weapon. And I don't think, and again, I could completely be wrong, Patrick, but I just don't think the infrastructure would let any of these folks do that. If you take a look at Russia, there's so much right now that if Russia was ever going to use not even a regular nuclear bomb, but just what they call there's a word for these small nuclear bombs that they put in the battlefield. I forgot. Tactical. Yeah. For tactical nuclear weapons. Go ahead.
Do you understand that the bombs that hit Hiroshima and Nagasaki are smaller than what we consider tactical now?
Yeah, I believe that. Because the new bombs we have are so darn powerful, it ain't funny. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
What we consider tactical was the strongest available during World War II.
Yeah.
And you talked. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a bunch of tangents, but you talked about the two bombs in Japan. I think it was yesterday. Do you know why there were two bombs?
No.
One was plutonium. The other was uranium.
Okay.
Which one was more effective?
I messed up. You took me back to World War II. I was still in Israel, man. It's still in Israel. I'm sorry, but it's the same thing they did. It's the same thing they did in Panama. They tested the stealth fighter in Panama, a country that had no air force. Think about that. We do it all the time.
And I don't know if you saw my introduction, but I wanted to offer talking to Tom Cisak about his analysis on Musk. I could do it with him or without him.
Well, go ahead. Make your point, my brother.
Okay. If somebody says that they know that 40% of the phone calls are for fraud, the first thing I would think of, well, if they know 40% is fraud, then you have an understanding of what's going on, then you probably already have a system in place to combat it. The second thing I would have said to myself if I was Mr. Cisak and I was believing Musk, I would say, okay, well then out of that 40%, how many actually lead to fraud? He was implying that all those were fraud, but I have a cell phone and almost every single phone call that I get from somebody that I don't know is fraud. And nobody's trying to convince me to destroy my cell phone. And one of the biggest crimes in the United States is credit card fraud. Nobody's telling us to get rid of credit cards. And there's a lot more of our money goes in towards credit card fraud than Social Security fraud. I guarantee it. And the way they fix that is they just raise interest rates and they raise penalties. They don't even go after the people that are conducting the fraud, because they just push it on to the people that have nothing to do with it. Now, nobody's telling me to get rid of credit card. Nobody's telling me to get rid of a smartphone. Now tell me why I should be convinced to get rid of Social Security, because there might be a small bit of fraud in it.
Well, let me just tell you, Patrick, I disregard it. Look, you have to realize all the data that you see in the chat from Eric Hayes or Mike Cisak, it's really nonsensical stuff coming from right-wing rags to convince gullible people onto these things. So for all, I am trying to tell folks, the only reason to answer some of that is if it's going to make it into the ethos where you really need to address it. But I think the one that you addressed needed to be addressed. Now, Joanne thinks that she really digs Patrick. She really loves how Patrick comes out with all the stuff, So there you go. Thank you, Joanna. I appreciate
my boss.
There you go. Anyway, let me go. I have some more videos. Let me continue doing the videos, my brother, unless you have something else to say.
No, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
You have a wonderful day, my dear brother. All right. Cynthia Verdell says, many people misinterpret the scriptures. I have several different versions of the scriptures. The people in Israel are not the people from the Bible. Don't believe it. Ask them which tribe are they from. That's an interesting thing that a lot of folks have brought up many a times. Because I'm not qualified to answer that, but something worth looking into. Stacy Jenkins says, okay, sorry, but Patrick is on the rant. Need to move on. He is stressing me out. Stacy, he's not stressing us out, Stacy. We're getting good info. But anyway, here we go. We've got ourselves some another video that's very important. And here we go. Don't believe about tariffs. Here we go. Over the last several days, several weeks, several months, Donald Trump has been touting his tariffs as being successful. Well, now the numbers are in. And in fact, the tariffs are not successful. There are several things that we can garner out of this. But before we talk about that, let's go ahead and listen to Steve Ratner, who goes ahead and breaks it down. And then we'll take it on the other side.
Steve, there has indeed been plenty of speculation about how Trump's tariffs will impact the country. So tell us, how does the economy look almost 5 months into Trump's second term?
So the Commerce Department reported that prices for all goods went up by 2.4, I should say Labor Department, 2.4%. But for what we call core goods, which is you take out energy and other volatile categories like food, they went up 2.8%. And that, as you can see, is flat here and just slightly up here. So pretty good news on inflation. Why? I think people feel there are three reasons why we haven't seen the tariffs yet. First of all, importers stocked up in anticipation of those tariffs. Secondly, businesses are trying hard not to raise prices, although at some point I think we expect them to. And thirdly, the tariffs have been on and off and paused and so on. And so the effective tariff rate is actually at the moment a good bit lower than what Trump had put in place at the beginning. But economists still expect them to rise by about 3% this year, which means faster than that at the end of the year. And consumers actually expect them to go up 6.5%. Trump, as you know, has been posting on social media about how the Fed has to cut interest rates. The Fed has to cut interest rates. The Fed's target is 2%. They use a slightly different price index, but close enough. 2% is what the Fed wants to cut interest rates. So there's a tug of war going on right now between Trump and Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed. But let's look at another indication of what impact the tariffs may have this year. The World Bank, completely dispassionate, a neutral organization, put out its semi-annual forecast day before yesterday. And what did they do? They took down growth estimates for the U.S. pretty substantially. They had been projecting back in January 2.3%. Now they're down at 1.4%. It is more than worth noting that 1.4% is exactly half of the 2.8% that we achieved in the last year of the Biden administration. So the president who promised to revitalize the American economy is actually looking at a growth rate of half of what it was last year. And then the other noteworthy point is we may well be shooting ourselves in the foot because the World Bank only took down its estimates for Europe's growth rate, which is slower than ours, but they took it down by a much smaller share, and they didn't change China's growth rate at all. So they feel that China is going to work its way through these tariffs a lot better than we are.
Labor market slowing down.
Yeah, so we had an unemployment report last Friday, and the good news is the economy added a lot of jobs. The bad news is that the growth rate in jobs have been decelerating. Now, some of this was inevitable. This is out as we were coming out of COVID. This is a very, very high number of jobs that we were adding. And so it's natural that it would have come down. But now for the last several months, the number of jobs we're adding is actually below. This is the pre-pandemic average. So this is a kind of normal, stable economy, what we were adding. And this is what we've been adding over the last 12 months. There's one other interesting point about this, which is not on here, which is that 600,000 people dropped out of the labor force last month. That is a very big number. We don't know who they are. I don't know who they are, but it's not out of the question. This may have something to do with Trump's immigration policies. But consumers also have noticed the fact that the job market is weakening. If you look at the percentage who think jobs are plentiful, it's dropped to 32%. It was up here close to 60% as we came out of COVID. That's also obviously unnaturally high. But if you look even before COVID, the number of people who thought they were plentiful was about 45%. The people who think not so plentiful, obviously rising. And the people who say are hard to get, 19%, also well above pre-COVID levels.
Economic uncertainty that just seems so pervasive is your third chart. Home buyers simply aren't biting.
Yeah, I think when you talk about those poll numbers you were showing earlier, things like the situation with jobs and then with houses play a factor in all this. So what's happened? It's really interesting because the number, again, coming out of COVID, ignore all these wild fluctuations, but coming out of COVID, the number of buyers, the number of sellers was kind of in balance. Now look what's happened. The number of sellers has shot up to almost 2 million. The number of buyers has dropped to 1.5 million. And so you've got almost 500,000 houses sitting on the market waiting for buyers. Now, why has that happened? Some of it is clearly economic uncertainty. Again, you go back to the Trump economic policies, up, down, backwards, sideways. People do not want to make major purchases when they really have no idea where the country is going. So that's a factor. But the other factor is that what we call affordability, what an average consumer has to pay to afford his house, has been rising for a good while since we started raising interest rates coming out of COVID. So back here in 21, it was $1,000. Today, it's about $2,000. And so that is a significant impact on consumers. But Trump, who again came to office promising he was going to solve all these kinds of problems, what's happened? Since Election Day, it's gone from $2,100 up to almost $2,200. And on Liberation Day, it actually took a particularly large jump because the 30-year Treasury took a particularly large jump because of the tariffs. So we're going in the wrong direction on housing affordability at the moment, as well as consumers' willingness to make major purchases as we live in this world of economic uncertainty.
Yeah, lots of warning signs there. So as mentioned, the Wall Street Journal editorial board argues that Trump has no China trade strategy. Its new piece reads in part this way. President Trump on Wednesday hailed the result of the latest trade talks with China as a great victory. But the best we can say is that it's a truce that tilts in China's direction. His latest walkback shows he can't bully China as he tried to do in his first term. China has leverage of its own. Mr. Trump has used tariffs as an economic scattergun against friends as well as foes. This increases China's leverage and, like this week's trade truce, that's nothing to cheer about.
So what is clear here? First of all, the country with the upper hand here is China, and it's clear. The World Bank has decided, pointed out after doing their research, that this tariff war will have little impact on China, as they've shown in the charts that you've seen there, but has a material effect on our output. Actually, our GDP has dropped or will drop by half, from 2.8% to 1.4% because of Donald Trump's tariffs. But it gets worse than that. If you take a look at the employment picture, you see that we, as mentioned by Ratner, 600,000 jobs that are no longer people that are no longer showing up in the charts for those jobs. Why? It is likely having to do with people scared to go to work because of having to deal with ICE and many other immigration issues. Then we take a look at the prices of homes. People can no longer afford the homes, not only because of the price of lumber caused by the tariff between Donald Trump and Canada and other places, but because, again, his policies are so lousy that the people who control interest rates are pretty much saying, you know what, we can't lower these interest rates because Donald Trump is destroying the economy with these tariffs, and we have no clue as to what it's going to be. And as such, mortgages are higher, and many other financial instruments that we depend on will cost us more. So in effect, from employment to immigration to the price of products, Donald Trump is really playing a number on the economy. And while all of it hasn't come to fruition yet, just wait. It is coming because math is absolute. Math is, in fact, absolute. Let me tell you something. For those who doesn't think China is in the driver's seat, let's remember some numbers. China is the biggest manufacturer in the world. China continues to make inways in just about every country in the world. Look, I am not talking about loyalty to any country or anything. I'm just stating facts here, and with the intent of letting it be seen that our government, led by the Orange Man, is really continuously depressing our economy. continuously putting us at odds with our allies. There's nothing good that will come out of what this president is actually doing. E2247, how are you doing? He says, 16 June 25, what we don't know about nuclear weapons spending is a problem. Good. That I imagine that's a darn good story. Cynthia Verdell says, no, tariffs are what brought about the Great Depression. Exactly. Why would a failed businessman know what's good for America? He's a fraud and a criminal who is only interested in himself. You know, it's funny. The only successful business Donald Trump has ever had is being a grifting president. Think about that. He has made more money and deals as president of the United States because, again, remember what I said about this great economic system on the backs of others. And now that he's president, he's using what we know. Let's say he's using what he's gained from the power of the American presidency to enrich himself. E22 would appreciate if you'd pick a quote or snippet from the article in addition to the link. Yeah, let us know a little bit more. So that is where we're at. Jennifer Hunter, welcome aboard. Angela Super, welcome aboard. Cynthia Verdell also says China and all other countries, such as Mexico and Canada, are not affected as much as they claim. Look, Donald Trump telegraphed what he was going to do. And these guys started making alliances outside of the purview of the United States. And that is the thing that too many don't understand. That is, again, thank you, Cynthia, but that is the truth. Donald Trump's most successful business was being president of the United States, not for the United States, but for making money for himself by ripping off, again, I repeat, ripping off the American taxpayer. You notice you haven't heard anything about that plane, whether it's going to be upgraded or not. Mark my word. This is my belief. I don't think they're going to turn that Qatar plane into Air Force One. It'll cost too much. I think they'll delay it as they do refurbish it, and they do make it like Air Force One without all the amenities, so that when it goes to the library, it would be but like a replica that doesn't have to have all the advanced avionics and the protection against missiles and all that kind of stuff. I bet that's what occurs, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Let me tell you how gullible folks are. Somebody says Donald Trump's wealth went down during and after his time as president. Oh, boy. Anyway, folks, I hate to laugh at a statement like that, but how gullible can you be? All right, let's go to our last video. This one, for the women that are here, please stick around for this. This is what MAGA, this is what conservatives, this is what the right has in store. This is what they feel about you. And you know how they've been talking about we need to nurture men more now. The liberal women have really neutered men, and they have all these things they talk about as if men are so fragile. Men are not going to school as much as women are anymore because they feel women are taking advantage of them. DEI. Oh, poor men. They control the whole world, most of the world. Right? The leadership of most of the world, the leadership of most corporations are men. But because a few women are coming into the fold, we need to take care of their fragile egos. We can't. My God. No, not because women are finally asserting what we've always known about women. Do men need to get some sort of I am not going to school anymore because I can't compete with women? Come on, guys, grow up. And if I were a little bit otherwise, I would say grow one. But check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side. I think this should be embarrassing to Charlie Cook and to all conservatives, MAGA and otherwise. Women, if you really want to know what MAGA, what evangelicals, what many conservatives believe it's your goal. Charlie Kirk is one of the big spokespersons right now for the right. And he's out there. He's in England talking the right. He's all over the place talking the right. He was at a university recently. I want you to listen to this, because if this doesn't tell you the position that you are in that party, if this doesn't give you pause about the vote that you made in 2024, God help the country. Take a listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
This weekend, conservative firebrand Charlie Kirk of Turning Point USA hosted a, quote, women's leadership summit where he let young women know what kind of degree he thinks they should be pursuing in college.
Hi, Charlie. I'm Addie, and I'm 14. I'm a freshman in high school. And I was wondering, as someone who has a different opinion on college, what would you say the pros and cons are? Because I'm interested in political journalism. And what would your advice be?
Yes. So let me also speak to some of the young ladies here in high school where who's here where your top priority is get married and have kids? Raise your hand. Okay. Interestingly, I think there is an argument to bring back the MRS degree. And no, seriously. And just be clear, that's why you're going to college, right? Don't lie to yourself. I'm studying sociology. No, you're not. We know why you're here. And that's okay, actually. And that's a really good reason to go to college, actually, especially an SEC school. You will find a husband if you have the intent to find a husband at Ole Miss. It's just going to happen, okay? Or wherever. Yeah, there you go, see? Or at University of Alabama. But there you go. But I always laugh and by the way, we should bring back the celebration of the MRS degree, which is, no, serious. I mean, if you think about it, I say college is a scam, but if you're going to find your life partner, that's actually a really good reason to go to college. You have a bunch of people that are single, they're at the prime of their, let's just say attractiveness. The dating pool is as robust as you'll ever find, and they all live together over a 4-year period. You don't get much better than that. Okay. It doesn't get better after college there. And so, yeah, you could go learn some stuff. That's fine, I guess, or whatever, just to your professors. But that actually was the reason why a lot of women went to college in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And it worked for a lot. Marriage rates have plummeted since that. So
the idea that colleges for women are just there to get that MRS degree, the Mrs. MRS degree, that's what it stands for, It is, I want to call it appalling, but it is really to be expected, because these are the guys that are out there talking about DEI. These are the guys out there talking about that the left is trying to take away a man's masculinity. I quite don't know what that is. We have a lot of masculinity running the world right now, and what I see is a bunch of masculinity running the world right into the ground, running our not only our economy but our environment into oblivion. The reality is, what we need is brain power from everybody, including women and everybody and in between. But it is sad to see that the things that these guys thought about, the way they felt, that they were so ashamed to talk about it in the past, they don't have a problem with it now. These guys are losing a tad bit of an undeserved privilege that they've had from the inception of this country and before. But now that others are getting opportunities, it's a threat to them. So what do they believe? What do they want? They want it all, and they want to brainwash you into indentured servitude, into service, into doing all the things to serve them. Even as right now, they're in control of most. Folks, wake up. The reality is that is who they are. The reality is that's who they are. I couldn't believe when I saw that a man would get up and say that in front, when a 14-year-old asks a question about college, you're going to college to get married. Where the hell is Charlie Kirk from? They're trying to push ignorance. And again, let me tell you something. I mean, there is a wealthy economist that he's a professor at, I think, NYU or one of these universities, and I play his stuff quite a bit. I can't recall his name right now, but he's on this bandwagon as well. He's a progressive guy. He's on this bandwagon again and say that we got to start nurturing boys and that kind of stuff. But my concern in the way he's talking about it is it almost sounds like we need to coddle men, because a lot of these men are saying all the efforts are being placed on women and minorities and all that kind of stuff. And my answer to that is no. There was a time when nobody else got attention. It is time now that everybody has equal access to success. And that doesn't, and the success of one doesn't mean or take away from the success of another. And we have to get there. We have to get there. Damn, I wish I could remember the name of the person I'm talking about right now. But anyway, we are at 58, near the end of the program. I want to thank all of you who came by to listen. Please share and tell other people about it. Michael, then I'd like you to send me that the links to those videos you're talking about. MRS degree. They said that to me when I got a full ride scholarship to USC Business School at 16 years old. So ridiculous, but it is continual insult. It is an insult. Thank you, Michael. It is an insult. Let's see what else we've got here. What else have we got here? Look, folks, we got Yvette saying, whoa, he should have kept that misogynistic speech to himself. I agree. But you know why I put it out there? Because he represents quite a few. Rev Carlton says, Elon flipped the election. He knows how he rigged it. Trump knows because he was offered no promise to the election. Come on, Elon, claim the credit you too. Elon won the election. All right. Show me the proof, Rev Carlton. Cynthia Verdell says that's wrong with them. They were babied too. We need everybody to realize, we believe in equality. Anyway, folks, thank you for hanging out with me today. I'd like you to please support the program as best you can. Best way to support our program is to become paid subscribers of our newsletter. And how do you do that? You just go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. And that is how you can really help us continue what we're doing here. The people who are paid subscribers get to read all of my current books free of charge and all of my future books free of charge. I cannot do this without all of you. Thank you for becoming one today, Cynthia Verdell. I appreciate that. And if more of you will follow Cynthia Verdell and become paid subscribers, we are currently about 512, I believe, short from upgrading in the Substack universe. Once we get we are at not 1,000, we're at 400 something right now. Once we get to 1,000 paid subscribers, we have several thousand regular subscribers. Once we get to 1,000 paid subscribers, there are two things that happen. I get better coverage in Substack. And number two, I can hire some help and not kill myself at 16 hours a day. Right now, we're still underwater, and I would appreciate those of you who can become paid subscribers that I placed in there. Anyway, love you all. Thank you all for being here. And I tell you what, Jacqueline Campisi said Trump has put us back 50 years. Guess what, Jacqueline? We can pause it and we can accelerate it right back, sis. No, we're keeping positive, sis. We're keeping positive. Anyway, I love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.